part of our service, and a big part of our service, is helping couples to determine child arrangements once they separate. It's very, very sort of emotional time because obviously both parents want their children, but it's not always practical for the children so that with both parents clearly because they've separated. So much of our work includes talking to clients, trying to understand the situation and trying to find the best way for them to come to an agreement in terms of where their children live and the contact arrangements thereafter. So what we try and do is we look at contact on two levels, assuming that the children are staying with one parent and not always necessarily the mother, but predominantly it is. On many occasions, it's the father that becomes the primary carer. So therefore, once we've established where the children will live, we then need to talk to them about how the contact is seen. And as I've said, there's two levels of contact. I refer to it as the regular contact, so the weekly, monthly contact. And what we try and do is to help them understand what's in the best interest of the child. And essentially there are two kinds of disputes. One is where the parents just can't decide what's best for their children, but they've got their children's best interests at heart. But then equally we have parents that have issues with each other, and that very often causes conflicts in terms of the arrangements. But once we've established, or help them to establish the regular contact, what we then try to do is to look at, if you like, a typical year. Because obviously one of the most contentious times for any parents is Christmas. Now, what we try to do is to follow the thought process of the courts. The courts believe, as parents in the eyes of the law are equal, then so an arrangement should be fair. So in other words, what I'm trying to say is that if the children stay with mum Christmas Eve or wake up on Christmas Day, then the following year it would swap over, so they'd stay with dad and wake up with dad on Christmas Day. And then we try and help them to determine when there might be a handover. We also look at things like holidays, particularly where children are of school age. And more often than not, the parents decide that they'll do a first come first served basis. So therefore, school holidays are coming up, the summer holidays, and the parent says, we'll take children away the second week of the holiday, and then once they've established that that's going to happen, then they'll go away and book up, and then they'll provide information. And we always hope then that children won't be restricted from travel. Once we've done that, then we'll start to look at what happens with Mother's Day, Father's Day. We always try and kind of encourage them to consider if the children are with dad and happens to be on the weekend at Mother's Day, then the children go back for Sunday and spend the day with the parents. So really what we're trying to do is to map out a typical year. And then at the end of that, once agreement's been reached, we draft a document called the Memorandum of Understanding. And that then summarises everything in detail. Now, that is really a working document, and it allows then the parents to refer to it just in case they forget. And then essentially from there, we're hoping that once they've gone through the process, then in the future, they don't need mediation. We don't want to have parents keep coming back, because part of what we try and do is to help them to communicate. And very often it's the communication that is the problem. Where there's major conflict and parents that don't want to speak to each other, there are other methods we can adopt. There is apps that are now available for family. So they'll record things like messages. They'll have a calendar. There's also financial elements, so they can say we bought uniform, and they can share the cost using these apps. So really what we're trying to do is to find solutions for the parents, and invariably if they find agreement, then it's very rare that we see them again.